Okay, this is the homework help video for Unit 2, Worksheet 7 for Math 3. So we're going to start with question number 1. So I'm going to start with my top equation here. So 4 is not grouped with the x, right? So it's not like grouped like these are. So I'm going to subtract 4 to the other side. And I'm going to find my start and stretch. So then my start is at 0, positive 4, right? I'm not adding or subtracting anything to x, and then 4 is affecting my y, so 4. My stretch is the number multiplying x, so that would be -1. And then I'm going to use a closed dot because it's equal to do my start and my stretch. So then I'm going to go over 0, up 4. And then my stretch is -1. And then this is linear, right? No squared, no absolute value. So then I'm also going to go up 1 over 1. So less than or equal means I'm going to shade below. So it would be this section right here. Okay, so shade below. And then let's take a look at our bottom equation. So the 3 is not grouped with the x, so I'm going to add it over to the other side. And then my start, I'm not adding anything to the x, so that would be 0. And then instead of +3, -3. And then my stretch is the number I'm multiplying by x, and so that would be 2. And then this is not equal, so I'm going to use an open dot to graph. So I'm going to go over 0, down 3. And then my stretch is 2, so I'm going to go up 2 over 1, and it's linear. So then I'm also going to go down 2 and back 1, and then connect with a dotted line. So I have no solutions on this line here, this boundary. And then it says greater than, so between these two sections, what section is greater than? And that would be over here. So then this is the solution set. And so I would highlight this section here. Okay. And then we just want to find 2 points in that solution set, so you can use any 2 points. It doesn't really matter. So like the origin is a good point to pick. And then maybe the one to the left of that, so -1, 0, right? But it could be any of those 2 points. And then let's take a look at question number 6. So this one is just a special case, right? There's no x term. So I'm going to go to where y is -2, and it's going to be an open dot because it's not equal. And then draw a horizontal line, so it's going to be dotted. And so that's a special case, right? And then less than means below, so that means I'm going to shade this section here. And then now I'm going to do this graph here. So for my bottom graph, I'm going to subtract the 2 over because it's not grouped in with the x. And then do my start and stretch. So my start or my vertex is at -1, 2. And then my stretch is the coefficient of my x term, so that would be 1. There's always an implied 1 there. So my vertex is at -1, 2, and it is equal, so it's going to be a closed dot. And then it's a quadratic, so I'm going to do up 1 over 1 and up 1 left 1. And a solid line because it's closed dots and equal. So greater than or equal, so greater than or equal means I'm going to be up here, but the problem is that I have no overlapping. So if there's no overlapping, then this would be no solution. Okay, and then let's take a look at question number 10. So for this one here, x is greater than -1, so that means I'm going to have a special case, right? No start, no stretch. So I'm going to go to where x is greater than -1, so go to where x is -1, which is right here. It's an open dot because it's not equal, and then this one's going to be a vertical line. So greater than, so to get to greater values, would I go left or would I go right? So I don't have an up down, so left or right. So greater would be this direction, so I'm going to shade lightly to the right. And then this is my exponential. So there's no coefficient, or no coefficient, no HK, no start point. So my start would be 0, 0, because I'm not adding or subtracting anything. So I would have a 0, 0. And then that's where my asymptote is. And then I would go up 2 over 1. And then when x is 0, y is 1. And then it's a solid line because it's equal. And so between the already existing sections that are shaded, I need to be greater than. So greater than means above. So then this is a section already shaded. So now we're narrowed down to this piece here, right? And so I'm looking just in this section. So now I need to do this graph. So I'm going to subtract the 1 over because it's not grouped with the x. So I'm not adding anything to x, so that would be 0. And then the opposite, positive 1. And then my stretch is negative 1. And then it is equal, so I'm going to go over 0, up 1. And then I have a stretch of negative 1, so down 1 over 1, up 1 over 1, because it's linear. And so then I'm going to draw there. And then I want to be below that line. And so I'm already narrowed down to this section, right? But now I need to be below this line. So how do I get to be below that line? And I'm not really sure how that's going to happen, right? And so is there a section that all of them are in common? And there's not, right? There's not a section that's common because we are below that line. And actually I think there is a tiny little piece right here, but my graph is so tiny I can't really tell. Okay, so I think there's a little tiny triangle in there. And so as far as coming up with 2 ordered pairs, that one might be a little bit tricky to do. And that's it for the homework help. Oh wait, I just realized I did this wrong. Okay, scratch that, guys. Okay, over 0, up 1, so I should be up here. So my line should be here, over 0, up 1. And then my stretch is negative 1. Okay, that makes more sense. Sorry about that. So there's this tiny little triangle right here. So as far as coming up with 2 points, they would have to all be like fractional points, and so don't worry about coming up with 2 points for the solution set, but there would be 2, like, you know, some fraction points to get into there. All right, and that's it for that worksheet.